This project, we're going to create 3 different color schemes for our message that we're going to present. Remember, we're trying to convince people to vote, and we designed a message, and now we're going to use colors to convey that message. And we're going to create 3 different ones using 3 different color palettes that we've downloaded from the internet. And let's go ahead and get started with it. So I'm going to start off by making a new file. You can work with the one you already have going. I'm going to start off by typing out my message. And I'm going to start with the word vote. And when I deselect that text, I can just grab this little handle right here, stretch it out to make it bigger. I'm going to choose a font that I like. Again, I'm going to shoot for something that's like pretty solid. So something like this that has kind of some weight to it, right? Because this is an important thing. I want to convince people to do something important. And now what is it that I want them to do? I want them to vote. And I'm going to start off with all this just in black and white. So vote. And then to copy, I'm just going to Command D to make a copy of that. And then I'm going to deselect this. But this word right here, I'm going to make smaller. Vote. Because the word for isn't quite as important as some of the other words here. I want to vote. And then I'm going to say vote for justice. Okay. That's an important thing to me, and it's something that I feel like I need people to participate in. I'm going to use this line spacing here to kind of pull these letters together a little bit closer, and then I'm going to shrink down the size just a bit, and then I'm going to work to make everything align. All right, so everything is going to be lined up. I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between each one. Because I don't feel like squishing them together like this helps to read it any better. I want to give everything a little bit of space to be able to read it. All right. And then I can select all of this text right here. I'll right click, choose the alignment, and I'm going to align their centers so that straight down this the middle, they're all in line with each other. All right, vote for justice, and then I'm going to select everything here and just kind of slide it until visually looking at it, everything kind of looks like it's in the center of this page here, and that looks good to me. I'm liking these. I'm liking the fonts. I'm thinking maybe these could be a little bit closer together, and so I'll make a quick adjustment there. And I think I'm going to include some, I'm going to include an icon later on, and so I'm going to leave a little bit of space at the bottom. But that's my starting point right there. I'm going to add in a rectangle here. So if I switch to my layers, let me do this first. Let's go ahead and name everything. So this is the word justice. Justice. This is the word for. And this is the word vote. And then I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and just starting here in the upper left hand corner, I'm going to click and drag across this whole thing. And for some reason that didn't go. There it is. Okay. Click and drag across this whole thing. I'm going to change the color to white for now just to keep it as a white rectangle, and I'm going to put that down at the bottom. Come on now. There we go. And I'm going to name it background. Remember, the arrangement of the text is important. This is like a sign, right? We're designing a sign, and it shouldn't just be randomly in there. Yeah. Okay, so we've got the phrase "vote for justice," and that's a good starting point. What I'm going to do now is come over here to the Pages tab next to Layers. And I'm going to hit add a page. I'm going to do 2 more pages here. And then I'm going to come back up to the top. I'm going to select everything and press Command C to copy. I'm going to go to the next one down and press Command V to paste. So I'm going to hold the Command key and then press the letter V and paste that in. And then I'm going to go to the last one and I'm going to do the same thing, Command V to paste, because I know it's already on the clipboard. And now I have 3 copies of the same thing here. Okay. From the top, in the first one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a color scheme on top of this. So I'm going to minimize my screen for just a second. I'm going to just drag a color scheme from my downloads here, and I'll start off with this one here. I'm just going to drag it and drop it in here, and you'll see I get an image file placed in here. Now I can resize that, I can reposition it, and I'm just going to put it up above like this. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the next page, and I'm going to repeat the process. I'm going to go in and find one of the color schemes that I want to work with. That one's pretty electric. I'll run with this one here, and I'm going to drag and drop it in here, and then move this up, maybe shrink it down a little bit so it's a little bit more manageable in the space. And then I'm going to go to the last one, and I'm going to choose my last color scheme here. And I'll go ahead and work with this one here and see how that goes. Some of these are definitely more successful than others, and you know, that's what we're doing here. That's we're seeing what works and what doesn't work, right? And let's go back to the first one. So we've got 3 different color schemes and 3 different designs here. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the full screen look here. And from the top, let's take a look. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose from here what's going to be my background color. And a lot of these colors are really dynamic. Some of them are going to be they're going to be hard on the eyes, right? Because they're really intense. For example, this color red, wow, that's definitely an attention grabber, but it can be difficult to look at. So I'm going to go through and kind of sample some of these different colors and see, well, what really works here. Is there one of these colors that works best for a background? And what I'm doing is just clicking on the background color, selecting the eyedropper, and then sampling the colors here. All right. I'm going to go through all of them and just kind of see what's what. And then finally we have the black, and now we've got black on black, which is really low contrast, hard to see. But I'm going to go ahead and design this one with black. Okay. Over here on the top, I'm going to switch to my layers, back from pages to layers, so I can see everything that's in here. So I have, I'm going to rearrange these as well so it just reads properly. Vote for justice, and then I have my background. You can take all of the text. If you want to change the color of all the text at the same time, you can hold the Shift key and select the top one, and then hold the Shift key and select the bottom one, and it'll select everything in between. And then you can right click and choose Group, and now they'll act as one object. So when I go to select a color here from the background, I'll hit the eyedropper, and we'll start off with whew, pow. That is dynamic. It's like Batman, right? Very readable, a little intense, but you know, gets the message across. So I can start with that one. Let's go over and hit the Pages button and switch to the next one, and then we'll go to our layers, and I'm just gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna make it say Vote for Justice just so I can see it. And starting off with the background, I'm gonna choose a background color, and let's do something a little bit more mellow here. Let's start with this off-white, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna group these together. Holding the Shift key, I'll select them all. Right-click, Group, and then select my eyedropper tool, and let's just try this blue here. Okay, nice and readable. It's not quite in the spot. I'm gonna make sure that that rectangle fills up the whole space here. Okay, so that one's looking pretty good. And then let's go to our next one and repeat the process. Okay, so back to layers and vote for justice. And then I'm going to use this last one here. So I'm going to select my eyedropper, see what I got in the way of colors. I'm going to go with kind of this neutral color here. Oops. Oh, it's still active. Okay, I'm going to start with this neutral color here. And then let's select the text again, group it together, and select a color from our color range here. Now that one doesn't read too well, so I'm going to try and pick something that pops a little bit more. Let's go with this hotter red. There we go. It's definitely readable. Okay, and that's it. That's our starting point, right? So we've got several different ones here. And we've experimented, and I'm using minimal colors. I'm not using every color from my palette. I'm just using some specific colors from my palette. So that's something to bear in mind too. Let's talk about next steps. Like, what would you want to do maybe if you could do something further? Well, one thing you could do is take the text and you could add a border to it. So if we want to have an outline around the outside, and we can sample that color from our palette as well. So instead of just having, you know, some random color, let's choose a color from our palette to add an outline or a stroke or border around the outside. Now with these, what you have to note is that by default, it's going to make the border be on the center of the edge of the letter, which can really cause some problems later on if you're making the border large. It can start to make the letter illegible, meaning you can't read it. So you can change this from center to the outside of the letter, and that'll preserve the shape of the letter and just add the stroke around the outside or the border around the outside. And then you can kind of adjust the shape here and how wide it is. You can also experiment with the color again too, and see what different colors look like. How do they work with your eye? Is it something that's appealing? Is it something that that you would want to look at? So experiment. Come up with different color schemes. Oh, that reads a lot better right there already. Vote for justice. So if you wanted to get a little bit more advanced, you could try different things. Adding the stroke around the outside. Here's another technique that you could use. You could select and then duplicate. So Command D to duplicate, and then you can make a copy. Sorry, now you have a copy of that, and then you can hit the eyedropper tool and sample. Oops, I can't get up there. Let me just go back to here. Okay, so I'm going to try it again. I'm going to sample. There we go, from up in here. So let's do this. Let's make this a darker one, and we can create kind of like an offset to it, so there's a little bit of a drop shadow to it. I like this technique. You can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to kind of move it around. It's maybe sometimes is easier than trying to maneuver it with your finger or with your mouse. And kind of work with the position a little bit, change it up, find the right spot for you. And then let's see, you could take that to the extreme if you really wanted to, you know, come up with something pretty radical. So what if we took this and then we go to our layers here, and I'm going to duplicate this 1, 2, 3, 4 times, and then I'm just going to go through them. So starting with here's the back one, here's the next one. The next one I'm going to choose, since these colors are kind of next to each other, I'm just going to do a sequence of color going from lighter to darker, like this. Maybe more readable if it was inverted. Maybe the lighter colors should be on top, darker colors in the back. But that's up to you. You can experiment with them and come up with your own color solutions here. what looks good and what's going to make your project readable and, whoa, and nice to look at. What happened there? Oh, look at that. What is this? I'm finding something new. I'm not sure where that one came from. Okay, let me continue on this. Sorry, I got distracted. It happens sometimes. Oh, that's the other layer. This should be over here. There we go. Sorry, it's a new tool for me. I'm not familiar with this one. Vector, more of a Illustrator person. Okay, and then we can just kind of move these around, maneuver them into place. Just, oh my God, I did it again. Okay, let's do something like this. All right, so that would be taking it to the next level there. And then if we come back, we've got 1, 2, 3 different examples with 3 different color schemes. And from there, what you're going to do is hit the export button. For each of these, make sure that they are JPEG images, and then you're going to download them. 3 different versions. Make sure that there's no white edge. If you come in here and you see a white edge at the top like this, please cancel that. Come back to your project. Go into the layers and grab your background and make sure your background extends past the edge of the artboard that you're working on, so we don't get that white shape there. So let's go to export. See that white edge is gone there, and then we'll go ahead and hit the download button, and we'll get the JPEG. And you can load those JPEG files up to the project that's going to be posted on Google Classroom. I'll include the link. Well, obviously you watched it, so anyway, hope come up with 3 different designs for me, 3 different color schemes, and share them to the project. And that's it.